Hello, I'm Mario Cordero, Chief Executive Officer of the Port of Long Beach. Welcome to Port Update. My guest today is Louis E. Sola, Chairman of the Federal Maritime Commission, who is visiting from Washington. Chairman Sola was nominated for a seat on the FMC during President Donald Trump's initial term and named Chairman at the start of President Trump's current term. Before serving in his federal roles, he was a commissioner on the Florida Board of Pilots and Commissioners, responsible for licensing and regulating harbor pilots. Chairman Sola previously held private sector leadership positions in the yachting industry as CEO of Ever Marine and as an executive with Camper & Nicholson and Northrop & Johnson. He also is a decorated U.S. Army veteran who served in a variety of intelligence capacities from 1986 through 1997. Chairman Sola, welcome to the Port of Long Beach, and we're honored to have you here.
Thank you, Mario. It's a pleasure to be here. As this is one of the largest gateways in the country, I really wanted to make this one of my first stops as chairman.
Well, thank you again. So what brings you to Southern California?
Well, just that this is the major gateway of the United States. I believe that this is the front lines, definitely the trenches, where we're going to feel the impacts of the tariffs and other trade policies that we're implementing right now. So I wanted to come here and see what the impacts have been of the past tariff policy, where I believe that we had a lot of blank sailings, so we had a lot of less ships coming here, and also kind of look at how we're going to be prepared when we get a more stabilization. If we have a surge come in here, how well are we prepared for that surge?
Well, again, thank you for being here, and as you have indicated, the Southern California Port Complex is the largest, most significant container gateway, and all eyes of the nation are on the Port of Long Beach and Port of LA as part of this complex, given the various maritime issues that whether it's COVID or current day tariffs. So you have, as I indicated, you were appointed by President Trump in his first term, and then you were as commissioner through the Biden administration, and now chairman of the FMC. How has this transition been for you?
Well, the transition has been very easy. The past chairman, Chairman Maffei, ran a very tight ship. I believe that we were in line with the majority of the policies and things that we were doing in the FMC. And the personnel that he built up as a team was very good. So it was a very seamless transition for me to go over and become chairman.
Well, the FMC certainly in the past has had bipartisan support because of the importance of and the nature of the mandate of the Federal Maritime Commission, and of course, ever so more important today. So as chairman, what are your priorities?
Well, you're absolutely right. And as a previous chairman yourself, I believe that you understand this more than most people. I would say that we're not partisan there at all. We're more geographical based. And my geographical base is from the southeast of the United States, so I was always trying to do things to promote impact of trade in that area. And at the same time, also around the country. So that's one of the main issues. As chairman, we've been given a lot more power under the Ocean Shipping Reform Act, and we've been given a lot more power by Congress, and the administration is definitely giving us a lot of support to do things that I think that myself as chairman kind of put as a priority. And that's the international aspect of the Federal Maritime Commission. We are the leading regulator for international trade. There's no question about it. And now we're able to go ahead and we're able to try to make policies and things that benefit the United States on a worldwide basis.
During the first Trump administration, Chairman, you were at the FMC as a commissioner, and so you witnessed the whole period of negotiation regarding the USMCA, previously known as NAFTA. Can you give us some insight as to that? And the reason I ask that question is because negotiating trade agreements takes time. So what was your take during the process with the USMCA?
Well, I've had the pleasure of serving in the first Trump administration, and then I got to see a Biden administration, and now I'm in Trump 2.0. All three are completely different. So during the first Trump administration, I believe that we saw the tariffs, and we had the NAFTA negotiation go on, and we took kind of more of a passive approach than Trump 2.0, which has been a much more aggressive trying to get things done. I believe that there definitely needs to be a renegotiation, or definitely we can improve the North American Free Trade Agreement. And also looking at tariffs on a worldwide basis. And what the president has outlined is that we want reciprocal. So if a country is going to give us tariffs on a certain amount, we are going to do reciprocal on that country for the same amount. And that's going to be our policy going forward.
Well, again, obviously today the tariff subject is the talk of the town, so to speak, in this industry. So as far as the Port of Long Beach, we have what I term rational optimism that things are going to work out, and let's step back, let this play out. And I think already today things are looking a little bit better for the Port of Long Beach in terms of trade volume than maybe even a month ago. So stay tuned. So we're optimistic that things will be fine at a later point. Let me ask some questions with regarding the Panama Canal. Just your overview of the importance of that venue, that canal in terms of international trade. And I asked the question because you lived in Panama, so you have vast experience with regard to the Panama Canal question and where we go from here.
As you know, because I believe that you came and testified a couple of years ago under the Suez Canal and the problem that we had with the Houthis. And the Suez Canal represents about 5% of the goods that go through there come to the United States. And during that, I believe I asked you at that hearing what kept you up at night, and you said the Panama Canal, because the Panama Canal, about 75% of the goods that go through there come to the United States. So it is of the utmost importance to the United States. It is being administered by the Panama Canal Authority, which has excellent leadership, and they're doing a very efficient job. What we're watching there is what's going to happen when they have a drought and they have reduced slots to go through there, and then how those slots are allocated. That's our number one priority at the Federal Maritime Commission in regards to Panama.
Well, it's great to hear because again, it's an important channel for trade, and back when I testified, yes, there was a lot of concerns regarding the drought issue and the delay of that cargo. So we've already witnessed how important and for us to have fluidity there. So I look forward to again continuing our relationship with Panama and the importance of again making sure that cargo, whether it comes to the east or west in terms of how it flows both ways, is productive for the trade industry.
Yeah, I'm very glad to see that the United States Army Corps of Engineers is currently in Panama, and they're trying to assist the Panama Canal Authority on how they can add more water, because at the end of the day, that's what they're missing, is they're missing enough water for the operations of the canal. And no better entity in the world can do that besides the Army Corps of Engineers, who are the ones that built the Panama Canal in the first place. And let me say this as well, that the Panama Canal administration is paying for those services for the Army Corps of Engineers to be there.
Let me ask you a question on the sustainable development or process regarding cleaner fuels. You've been very open and receptive to transitional fuels, cleaner fuels in the maritime shipping or in the carrier industry. As you may know, the Port of Long Beach is heavily involved in the Green Corridor partnerships and furthering not only cleaner fuels, but again, one of the fuels that's evolving is methanol. So can you comment a little bit about your experience in terms of how you see this dynamic moving in the future?
Sure. Well, one of the same questions that I ask ship owners and shipping lines and cruise lines, because our oversight is on all of them, what keeps them up at night? And they are very quick to say that they have made a tremendous capital investment into their ships, that their engines are dual fueled. So they can take traditional fuel, but they can also take some of these dual fuels, whether it's LNG, methanol, or they're trying to go into hydrogen. And they don't have anywhere to do bunkering here in the United States. They have no access to some of these cleaner fuels. So this is a very important priority for energy exports, because any of the fuels that will go into those vessels would be at energy export. And then when we looked at the Inflation Reduction Act bill that came out a couple of years ago, there was a lot of funding and promotion for airline fuels, alternate fuels for airlines, alternate for trucking, and alternate for railroads. But maritime was not in the equation. So what I've been has been very advocate that we need to include maritime as well, because the only way that we can get to net carbon zero is through the fuels. And then we need to be able to have those fuels and have those fuels available so that we can give them to the people that need them.
Well, we certainly appreciate your leadership on this, Chairman. And myself, I've always indicated to my environmental friends here, of which I have many in California, we have to have delayed gratification. This transition takes years. It doesn't happen overnight. So I think the good news I see in terms of our carriers and the maritime industry is it's really evolved to a really commitment by the various shareholders with regard to this question. And again, the fact that we're talking about green corridors with China is just amazing to me compared to what most people thought even 5 years ago where these discussions would go. So again, thank you for your leadership on that. But it's going to take a lot of time, but there's absolutely progress on that. So you experienced the COVID pandemic era as a commissioner, and you led a fact-finding with regard to the cruise lines. To bring everybody back to that era, it was shelters in place, and if anybody really suffered the financial setbacks is the cruise industry, which came to a total stop. Can you tell us a little bit about your fact-finding investigation on that issue, given, again, your experience with the cruise industry in the past?
Sure. Well, in the Ides of March of 2020, the CDC put a no-sail order on all cruise ships. Yeah. And what the Federal Maritime Commission overtook was a federal investigation, the first one ever, on the impacts of the cruise industry. And what we did is we went out and we talked to each stakeholder at each port. So we talked to each port, we talked to all the suppliers, the fuel suppliers, the employees, the longshoremen. We tried to get a pretty good coalition. And we wanted to figure out what the economic impact of the no-sail order was. And I think that we came up to it was close to about $54 billion in economic activity that the cruise industry generates here in the United States. Here in Southern California, it was definitely a couple $1 billion and tens of thousands of jobs. Not only that, the suppliers and things. So what we were able to do is establish that the cruise industry is a very valuable asset to the United States, and how do we get it back up and running? And the first thing that we had to do was kind of standardize some of the public safety protocols across the country. So we worked very closely with the CDC and the Coast Guard to establish some of those. And we also established a cruise refund rule, which we didn't have before. So as the airlines have set policies on if you're going to buy a ticket, how you could get refunded, the cruise lines didn't have that. So at the Federal Maritime Commission, we were able to implement that. And cruising today is more vibrant, it's more safe, and it's going to have a much better longevity than it would have had without some of the implementations that we took in place.
Well, thank you for your work on that, Chairman. The St. Peter Bay complex here, Port of Long Beach, Port of Los Angeles, we both have a footprint in the cruise industry. In the case of the Port of Long Beach, we have a presence here by Carnival. Our mayor, Rich Richardson, certainly supports expansion of that operation. So, but even though we are known, we're majorly containerized port complex, we also have a cruise component. So very interested in terms of how we continue to evolve and support that sector. Now, let's move away from maritime and let's talk about baseball. As I ask you this question, Mr. Chairman, you're from Florida, so we have a former Dodger coach over there now in Florida, Clayton McCullough. What's your opinion of the Marlins, and when are they going to be competitive here, which hopefully soon?
Well, let me say that I'm very happy for you and all the other Dodger fans out there. That was probably one of the greatest series that I've ever seen, being an avid baseball fan. And if you can't beat them, join them. So I believe that us implementing and giving a great position as manager to a former Dodger. Hopefully that will give some winning spirit over there and to us in South Florida.
Well, certainly anytime we have Dodger personnel moving around in the major leagues, we certainly support their success and efforts. So look forward to having the Marlins up there in the playoffs at some point, and hopefully soon.
Yes, hopefully it'd be a great playoff. I'd love to see it.
Well, listen, Mr. Chairman, this concludes the Port Update, and thank you all for spending part of your day with us. I look forward to speaking with you again during upcoming Port Updates. In the meantime, keep an eye on the Port of Long Beach, where we are celebrating our 20th year of leading green. Thank you.